I just want to move on to national for the moment. We'll just go away from the big vision and we're going to draw right down into naughty MPs. For a change this week, it was Christopher Luxon who had some MP problems. First of all, how well did he respond to Tim Van Molen's sort of aggressive behaviour and resulting censorship by the Privileges Committee? What do you think?
Well, he didn't live up to his own standards, which, you know, I think he said of Michael Wood that he should have been gone on day one. So clearly that didn't happen in this case. But I also think that there's a element of this kind of thing, this close to election, I think is going to probably be forgotten about. Eventually.
Okay. So these are blips.
Yeah, I mean, Van der Molen, what are the stakes here? Van der Molen is in a pretty safe seat. I think it was, you know, huge, quite a large majority. That seat hasn't gone to Labour since 1938 or something. So there's, you know, nothing electorally there. You know, he's obviously been ruled out of cabinet.
So let's move on to diversity then. We have Michael Woodhouse, who says that he... in a contested kind of quote, but it was diversity over experience, which cost him a high list position, Janet. What do you make of that? I mean, because it is true, there are more women on the national list than men in the top 40.
Yes, but that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And that was something that they were trying to do. Suddenly it's become a bad thing.
Well, for Michael Woodhouse.
I think Michael Woodhouse needs to put his big boy pants on, frankly.
OK.
And just grow a pair. He had a hissy fit.
Right.
And then tried to walk the hissy fit back, having kind of said, well, that's it, I'm out. But, you know, under present polling, he could still get in on that list on the number that he was on. He was on number 30
so
on that list. He had every eventuality that he could have...
That cost him a position.
That's right, precisely.
Yeah, so he wasn't going to be a minister, and I think that was probably the underlying factor there, maybe. Anyway, well, OK, but is it just smoke and mirrors? Because if you look at the safe seats for National, generally... blokes again, aren't they? And so the blokes are going to get back in.
Well, it looks like certainly in those safer seats they tend to be white men.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is going to, dare I say, colour their whatever happens after the elections anyway.
Yeah.
And they are still white men, the majority of people in across all of Parliament. That's just, you know... Those of us who are diverse notice those kinds of things.
I think the National Party's electorate seat selections and things tend to be selecting white men, and even regardless of the directive that seems to come from the Central Party, they seem to be...
So is that a problem for Christopher Luxon? Because, you know, he put out the edict that they wanted more diversity.
To be fair to Luxon, I think Luxon has been very aware of this and has been trying to fight it. As you pointed out, as a member of the party, I can tell you at grassroots that that's the battle that's going on. That is a real battle that's going on at the moment.
Right.
Often between the genders as well.
Have you noticed this? Are you involved in the local selection?
Well, I live in Hawke's Bay in the Tuki electorate and in Napier. We've got two great female candidates. But that didn't happen easily, necessarily. In one case, it didn't happen.
Which case was that, Janet?
That was in Tuki. Catherine Wedd's a fantastic candidate.
Right.
So she did get elected, but, you know, it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
OK, so, that thing's carrying on. I just, with Christopher Luxon in an interview this week on Radio New Zealand, he had the word gender, saying it was gender part of the criteria, and he refused to say it.
Categorically refused. Diversity was his key phrase that he kept reiterating.
And then, obviously, it was clarified, of course, by Nicola Willis later on. Is that a problem? Why wouldn't he use the word gender in terms of criteria for selecting?
It's a rocky road to hell. Admitting that gender is an issue in politics. But, I mean, let's be very clear. Statistically, one of the smallest ethnic groups in the country is white men. When you think about it, and we're the ones that get called diverse. Actually, white men should be having policies and practices to save white men, because they're a shrinking ethnic minority in our country.
Right, right. That's a very valid policy somebody should put out there, maybe not.
And I think the New Zealand election study has some interesting data that that's basically a comprehensive study after the election, where they asked lots of detailed questions, and they found, they seem to indicate that the sort of swing voters in that last election, they were majority women in terms of the ones that flipped over, and so that's why it's an important voting bloc.
Absolutely. And funnily enough, we have a story about that coming up. So there you go, right on the button. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. Janet Wilson, Dilipa Fonseca and Ella Henry.